Okay, so I want us to quickly look at the activity that I've got for you in Google Classroom and give you a little bit of direction on what you're doing with that activity, okay? So, and then I'm going to give you about 5 minutes or so to get it done. In your Google Classroom, there is an assignment that's math vocabulary sort. Math vocabulary sort. I want you to open that up. It looks like this. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to take these words at the bottom and you're going to drag them up to where they go in this tree map. Now, let me give you a little bit of advice and a little bit of direction on this. Let me fix my camera. I may have to move it back. Hang on. All right, there we go. Now, when you click down here to pick up a word, there are no guarantees of what word you picked up. The text boxes are a little wonky. So when you go to pick up a word, move it up here to see what words you have. And you can make the text boxes smaller and kind of manipulate the text box, but move it to see what you've got. Each. So where do you think each is going to go? Divide. Okay? So you're going to just take that word and we're going to drag it over here in the divide column. Okay? Product, or pull that up. Product. Multiply. So you're going to just click it and drag it and drop it. Now, be sure you're careful with where you're dropping the words. Be sure you're careful where you're dropping them, okay? And some of the words, like I said, when you click the box, it may not pick up the word you think you're picking up. So, if you get out here where it's kind of convoluted, click it and pull it up here and see what you have in your, and then try to place it. If you can't place it, you're not sure, just pull it over here to the side and pick up another one, okay? And then the ones that are left over, we can talk about. I'm going to give you 5 minutes or so to get all of those sorted into where they go, okay? You are going to submit this back to me, all right? So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to get this sorted, all right? Okay, guys, I've added you a few resources in your classroom. So look right here. Go to your classroom, go to classwork. Under classwork, the math vocabulary sort, click that. Oh, it's not opening. All right. Under here, you have the actual activity, and then there is a Google slide that has 2 different slides, 2 pages of math vocabulary, okay? 2 pages of math vocabulary, all right? So put that to the side. Take your Chromebooks. You don't have to close them, but I want you to turn them so that they're facing that wall. Turn your Chromebooks for a minute and facing that wall so that you're not tempted to be on them while I'm talking. All right? Now, today we're going to be We're going to be looking at translating expressions, okay? Today we're going to be looking at translating expressions. In other words, we're going to be taking expressions that are using these vocabulary words, and we're going to take the sentence and we're going to make it into an algebraic expression, all right? Now look at me real good and let me tell you. An algebraic expression is different from an algebraic equation. Those two words are not synonyms, okay? An expression cannot be solved, but it can be simplified, and we're going to do that tomorrow. An equation can be solved, and we're going to be doing that later on. But an expression doesn't have an equal sign. Basically, the thing that separates an expression, everybody sit up and look, put your eyes on me. What separates an expression from an equation is an equal sign. That's it, okay? An expression has no equal sign, and an equation does, all right? So, we're going to do this little translating expressions scavenger hunt, all right? You're going to do this on paper, and then you're going to put your answers into the electronic form. If you are quarantined or absent, you don't have to have the handout. You just do it on the from the Google Slides, okay? If you're not here in person. So, you don't have to have the handout, but those of you that are here, we're going to do it on the handout. Okay, so this is a scavenger hunt. So you're not going to go in order down the paper. The problem is going to tell you the order you're going to go, okay? When I check these, when you submit these in Google Classroom and I check them, what I'm going to be checking for is the numbers you have written in the boxes that are in the Google Doc. And the numbers, there is a specific order to this, okay? And so I'm going to get you started, and then I'm going to let you finish it, all right? You can use the vocabulary that is in the slides that I put in this lesson. You can use the tree map that you just did. You can use the handout that I gave you a few minutes ago to help you with the vocabulary, all right? But when we're doing this, so we're going to start right here. The problem for this one is the product of a number and 7. So we've got to take that statement and we've got to turn it into an algebraic expression. The product of a number and 7, okay? So let's look at how we're going to do that. What does the word product mean? Multiply. I'm going to use, right now I'm going to use just a dot for multiplication, okay? So I know that means the product of a number and 7. A number can be anything. So that is going to represent our variable. Our variable. And on our handout, the variable we use all the way through is x. So a number is our x. Okay? A number is x. In my algebraic expression, when I write this as I'm taking this from a language arts statement, okay, to a mathematical statement.
So we don't put x up on the product?
No. Product means multiply. Put a dot. That's why we're not using an x for multiplication. That way we're not using an x for multiplication. We're using a dot because it gets confusing when we have to use x for our variable. That's why we're not going to use x for multiplication or use a times for multiplication anymore. It'll be a dot or a parentheses, okay? Or nothing, which is what you're going to see in just a minute. And then, and 7 is just my number, okay? So how can I take all of that and turn it into a mathematical expression, okay? Well, I can do 7 times x, but that's still not algebraically how we want to look at it. Olivia, what are we going to do?
Just not have anything in between it.
Exactly. I'm not going to have anything in between it. I'm just going to say 7x. When I see a number and a variable right beside that number, this is my variable. This is what we call the coefficient. This is when I see a number and a variable sitting side by side with no operation symbol in between them, that means to multiply. That means multiplication. Okay? So here's the answer to this. What you've got to do now is go through the paper and find that answer. Where do you see that answer? Right here. So this start is number 1.
Oh, then 2 and then 3.
Actually, don't put a number 1 right there. We start right there. But then we're going to come here. This is the first one we did, right? So this is number 1. I'm going to put a 1 right there. This is a 1. That's the first problem I did. The first answer I got was 7x, right? Does that make sense? Now I'm going to do that one. Now let's do this one. 2 times, so we've got, I'll change my color so you can see it. 2 times means what? Multiply. A number is what? X. And the difference of 2. What is the difference? All right. And mean. All right. Listen to this. And means what?
Add.
And means add. I'm going to put an addition symbol right there for just a minute. That looks like an X. Hold on. I'm writing sideways so that I don't get in the way of the camera. The difference. What does the difference of mean? What's the difference? Subtract of 2. Okay? Of 2. Now, so now we got to put all that together. 2 times a number. 2, and I'm going to go ahead and put my dot in there for just a minute. 2 times a number plus the difference of 2 times a number and the difference of 2. So that's what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of wonky, isn't it? That's kind of wonky, isn't it? So let's make it up. Let's clean it up. Let's clean it up. How can we clean that up? What can we do to that 2 times x to make it more algebraic?
Put it beside each other.
Just sit them right beside each other, make it a 2x. Right? Now, when we were doing integers, we learned that plus a minus is really a what? Say it. It's minus. So this really becomes this, right? 2 times a number and the difference of 2. Is that what that says? 2 times a number and the difference of 2. There it is. We're not ever going to have, from this day forward, as long as we live, you've got to know that this 2x minus 2 is the same thing as 2x plus a negative 2. You got to know that. You've got to know that. But this is not its simplest form, okay? You've got to know how to revert between writing it as addition and writing it as subtraction. But when you have 2 signs sitting right by side like that, it's not in its simplest form. And we've got to write it in its simplest form. Okay? Now we can write it like that to get it to its simplest form, to help us look at it. But we got to have it in its simplest form. Okay? Is everybody with me? So, here's what we're looking for. 2x minus 2. Where do you see that? Uh-huh. Is it on here? Well, we got 2n minus 2. Is that okay if we use n? Yep. So, right here, you're going to put a number 2, because that's the second problem we worked. Right here, we put a number 2. And then 7 less than twice a number. I'm going to do this last one, and then I'm going to be done. So, 7 less than means what? Twice means how much? If you take twice something, what are you doing? You're multiplying by what? 2. Twice a number is 2 times a number. We can use n, we can use x. Okay, now that looks like that's going to be 7 minus 2n, doesn't it? Okay, but look at me. 7 less than twice a number. Can I take 7 less? If I told you, if I said, you are 7, wait, let me go back up. If I said, you have $7 less than me, how much money do you have? Can you tell me?
No.
Why?
We don't know how much money you got.
Exactly. You don't know how much money I've got, which means you've got to have something on the front to take 7 less of, right? You got to have something to take 7 away from, right? So we've got to, that's not right. We got to have, it's going to be 2n minus 7. That is 7 less than twice the number. You got to have twice the number before you can take 7 away from it. Does that make sense? That is, order matters with subtraction and division. You have to be very careful when you're writing subtraction and division, because sometimes the way it's written verbally may not be exactly the way it translates when you translate it to your math. Okay? Does that make sense? So find 2n minus 7. Where is it? Is it on the next page? So on the next page, 2x minus 7. I think all of them are x except that one. So 2x minus 7. This was the third one we got. This was our number 3. And now you're going to work that problem. Does anybody have any questions about how this works? No? All right. I want you to just pause for a minute. I'm not turning you loose yet, because I'm going to go ahead and give you all of your directions, and then you're going to work. Okay? Then you're going to work. And the other thing that you have in your classroom is a drag and drop. The other thing that you have in your classroom is a drag and drop. Okay, I want us to just kind of look at that. I'm going to make sure everybody's clear on your directions. Okay? You also have this drag and drop. Look at how this works. There are 2 pages. Okay? If you go and here's the second page. So what you're going to do is you're going to come right here. And I don't know if I may have to go drive from my computer. You're going to take, now that 7/x, you can always tell if I didn't create the assignment because there's a diagonal sign for division. We don't write division that way, but if I didn't create it, sometimes I'm not going to recreate it. Everybody needs to be sitting up. What you're going to do is you're going to come right here and you're going to right click and you're going to either cut or copy. I say cut. Cut it, it goes away, right? Come to the second page, right click and paste. Now, that is not, oops, hang on. Make sure it's not lit up in blue. Did you see how I had that was lit up in blue, and when I pasted it, it won't let me move it? Make sure you're not lit up in blue, paste it, and then it pastes it as a text box. You see that? Now, you can take that and place it where it goes. So that is 7. This is going to be the quotient. It's going to have something about the quotient of 7 and a number plus x. What's it going to be?
The quotient of 7 and the sum of a number x plus 12.
All right, the quotient of 7 and the number, right here. So you're going to place that right there, okay? Now I'm going to go in and delete this and put it in there, there are 2 up here that don't match down here, and I've got to fix it. So I'm going to fix it. I'm going to delete it and then put it back in. But what you're going to be working on right now is the scavenger hunt and your tree map, and then I will have this put in as soon as you get through with it, okay? Anybody have any questions? Anybody not here on remote, if you have any questions, shoot me a message.